Christian Hernandez here, the SVG Summit in New York City, here with a really good friend. We always seem to be doing these interviews. It is Eli Velazquez from Telemundo Deportes. Eli,
Yes.
What's going on, man? How are you?
Good to see you, Christian. I don't know if your viewers are ready, though, because mayhem ensues when you and I do interviews.
Whether it's in Qatar, whether it's not in the States, whether it's in the States, it's always great to see you.
And always fun. Always fun for me as well, Christian.
Thank you for taking the time. You're about to go on the stage for a keynote conversation with Ken Kirschbaumer from our team. It's been a great year for the company and also for you personally. We get into that in a little bit. But you had a little thing called the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. Now that it's way back in your rearview mirror and you've popped the champagne and reflected, what did you learn? What were the challenges? What growth was there seen from that? And how can you move forward into 2026? Because that's going to come up before you know it.
Yeah, look, every event that we do sort of informs how we're going to differentiate and enhance the next one. This one presented its own challenges, right? Two countries, and not as close together as people would think, right? 3.5-hour flight from one to the other. So it was a challenge in as much as we had to figure out how do we create the same quality proposition we gave the audience for the men's tournament in Qatar in a more difficult geographical challenge, but also with a challenge of time periods and budgets, to be frank. And so, I got to give credit to my team. Chris Suarez-Myers is our SVP of Ops, and Robert Pardo, our SVP of Content, came to me one day and said, well, why don't we just move the hosts all over the countries and embrace live view technology to create more of an atmosphere of movement and have the fans follow us throughout. And so it worked. I'm happy to say that it worked. Despite the time period challenges, overall the tournament did better than 2019 in France. The group stage for the women's USA team was about 57% over the group stage in 2019, so that's also a clear indicator that the sport has grown and the fandom as well. And then on top of all of that, we were able to really bring diverse voices to the mix. We hired more women than ever before to be part of our announce teams. We contracted with experts and coaches, women in the field who had actually played on the pitch or who had tried to qualify for that tournament. So a lot of them were, contemporaries of the ladies playing. And it was just a great experience overall. Big challenge, but to your point, when they're in your rear view and they come out okay, you can breathe that sigh of relief. But there were some tense moments for sure.
Right, the time zones, all of that, and also you were handling things domestically with Leagues Cup Final, all that stuff in the States. But let's talk about what you were mentioning about hiring diversity, because you had this is your first year in your new position, right?
Yes.
Almost.
Yes.
About time. Time
11
is
months and like 10 days, but who's counting?
Yeah, time is a construct. Talk about your first year, what you learned personally, the brand initiatives that you're trying to bring to Telemundo, and kind of how you're using your first year as a springboard for the future.
Sure. So, humbled and really honored that they took that leap of faith with me and gave me this opportunity to sort of manage the fortunes of this department moving forward. It started with an appreciation for the task at hand and the people that I'm able to manage, and then figuring out, okay, what's the biggest event that we have to really put ahead of us and plan for? And obviously that's World Cup 2026. Again, with its own new challenges that I'm sure you and I will have interviews about it at some point.
Right.
And then saying, okay, how do I really make a mark for the group, for the business, by connecting acquisition to that execution? So it started with a deal with U.S. Soccer Federation and aligning officially with that team, both men's and women's, which we can now leverage during our Olympics coverage in Paris, and where we're trying to work more intimately with them on the road to this tournament. We think the USA is going to do great in 26. It was an acquisition of Argentina and Brazil national team qualifiers on linear for their road to 26 as well. And when you think about Messi, defending champion, and the sensation he's been here in the U.S. since joining Inter Miami, it felt like another great property to have in association with our FIFA property, right? And then add to that Chivas de Guadalajara, which we were able to extend to another multi-year deal. And the work we do with Premier League and NFL, I'm very humbled by the opportunity and proud of the acquisitions that we as a team have made that are strategic and thoughtful for the audiences that we serve.
Storylines like Argentina and Messi certainly help, not without a doubt, but it also shows the quality that you guys bring to your viewers and the passion that you have for your viewers and the fans in the sport in general. Last question, 24 is going to be another busy year. You mentioned it yourself, Paris Olympics, Summer Olympics in Paris. Like we said, 26 here in the States. Talk about what's up next. You don't have to say spoilers, but give us a preview of 24 for Telemundo.
So, we're going to cover more hours than ever before of the Olympic Games for sure. I think with the growth of the women's game and women's sports in general, you're going to see more of our coverage around that tournament. So we're going to try and own soccer on both sides of the pitch, men's and women's. And like I said earlier, the Team USA Association is going to allow us to do a little bit more with that team as well. I think aside from the more hours, we're going to try and be as multi-platform as we possibly can. And we're also, for the first time ever, going to be broadcasting live the opening ceremonies in Spanish. And we're working with NBC Olympics, who are great collaborators and partners who allow us to play with their baby, if you will, in this regard, because they lead the Olympic charge. And doing so in a way that's authentic to a burgeoning audience that's not just Spanish language dominant. They're bilingual, and they're basically connected to the zeitgeist of what is the Olympic Games, regardless of language. And so NBC gives us the freedom to explore storytelling beyond the typical expected storytelling that people would have us do. And I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be great, and I think it's an event that the world needs, frankly, right now, to come together around sport, and help with the polarized situation that we're all dealing with right now, and the difficulties that are happening internationally.
Sure. Whether it's a World Cup or Olympics, it's one of those unique events that brings the world together. Continued success,
Thank you, sir.
continued growth.
All right.
Huge fan of you guys. Eli, great to see you, and
Great to
best
see you.
best of luck in
I
24.
appreciate it, Christian. Thank you very much.
Eli Velazquez here at the 2023 SVG Summit in New York City. For more interviews like this one with Eli, please head over to our website at sportsvideo.org.